So, hello everyone. It is me, Demetra K of the Demetra K Show, where we promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people. I am sitting here with Donovan, the recovering Democrat Sadiq, and of course, you see somebody else here with us, and that's Miss Tamara Johnson-Shealey. She is running for the Senate in Georgia against that of Ralph Warnock and Herschel Walker. We're going to get into all of that. We'll have about a half an hour with her, and so hopefully we'll get all the questions that you guys are interested in asked, and she can answer it as best she wants to anyway. And so for the sake of time, Donovan, I will shoot it to you.
Yes, welcome to the podcast. My good friend, Tamara Johnson-Shealey, welcome to the show. I'm so excited. And I'm going to tell you this. I saw you on a several different internet podcasts and things. I don't know if you're familiar with TD Hip Hop. You were on that one, and he was quoting your campaign and what was going on. So you're getting out there. And Tim Black, I talked to him about you. I saw you on the Tim Black show. So you are doing a lot of grassroots stuff that is just unbelievable. And here we are again, special election, like you said last time. Ralph Warnock has a war chest, and he's doing all this great stuff. But my question is this. What is going on in Georgia where Herschel Walker is leading in the polls? What is going on?
Well, I don't want y'all to believe the hype. You can't believe the hype, right? Let's just be real. I just want to say, first of all, thank y'all for inviting me back, Demetra and the recovering Democrat. I missed y'all. Look, y'all, I've been away too long, so thank you for having me back. So yeah, don't believe the hype. Polls are just what they are. They're designed to ask the people they want to ask, and they are designed to, give the results that they want to give. So I don't follow polls because honestly, I don't believe any of it is absolutely true. They're not asking all of us. I've never been polled ever. So they're not asking all of us. So I don't believe it. And I don't want y'all to believe the hype either. Herschel is running here. So let me just kind of back up for those. I am primarying the senator, Reverend Senator Warnock. Reverend Senator Warnock has gone to Washington, and his best legislation from March 25th of 2021 to February the 17th of 2022, almost 11 months, was to put a statue of Shirley Chisholm in Congress. That has been his best legislation. He's now touting this insulin bill that is now his best legislation after February the 17th. But that still, was given to him, because he had nothing to stand on. He's actually co-sponsored over 200 bills that belong to other legislators, but he still has not, I repeat, has not signed on to S40. S40 is HR 40. Those of you that follow the Us and This Reparations movement, HR 40, S40 is the reparations bill to create a study in Congress. And Warnock has not signed on as a co-sponsor to that. And unfortunately, the pushback I'm getting here in Georgia in this primary election is because of who he is. There was so much emotionalism around Warnock when he ran. This man is a pastor, and us as a people. This is still the Black, this is the Bible Belt. We're still, very, as Black people, we're still very, have such a high reverence for the church. And, that emotional attachment to him and the Black church with him running. So that still exists. And it's so disheartening, that he's run. And in addition to the fact that he stands in the pulpit of Dr. King, he's the pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, historical Black church here in Georgia. Having, him be that to Black people, there's still an attachment to him. So the pushback that I'm getting in this primary election, before we even get into Herschel Walker, because he's just a joke, but the pushback that I'm getting is from our people who are, just so glad to have a Black face in a high place that I've had to adjust even the way I've been running. I was, when I came out of the gate, I wanted to go full speed, like, y'all, this is our opportunity. Reparations is on my agenda. My goal is to create the reparations administration. Like, I wanted to just go at it, but I had to take a step back because I get two reactions when I tell people that I'm running against him. Either I'm going to get somebody that's like, yes, let's go, or I'm going to get somebody that I have obviously broken their heart when I told them that I'm running against Warnock. So I've had to adjust even how I'm campaigning. And when I'm meeting people and I'm telling them I'm running, I have to wait. Literally, y'all, I'm telling you, I have to wait to see what kind of reaction I'm going to get, because then I know how to approach this person. I've had to be with those that I know I'm breaking their heart. I've had to give them, a lot of people, a moment just to let it sink in. And I've even started saying that, let it sink in, because they have to get past the initial shock of me running again. Y'all, it's like, and this is why I think there's like, I get angry with him, because you knew that people would feel this way. You knew that. So why, okay, if you're in this position, I shouldn't even be running against you. He should be doing everything that he needs to do to stand on what Black people need, not me out here fighting him. So I'm just, it's been a roller coaster particularly like the last probably 6 to 8 months, because I've gotten kicked off of Facebook, because when I came out, I was like, let's go. And I've had to like readjust just for the sake of helping our people along. Some of our people, y'all, I run as a Democrat, and y'all know I coined myself an independent Democrat. I run as a Democrat because that's where our people live. I don't want to leave them on the plantation. I'm hopeful that they will see the light and want to come and be the recovering Democrat.
Right. Right. Because even though I'm a recovering Democrat, I still pull for Democrat, because that's what our people are. Most of us are Democrats, and it's just something that I do. It's a day-by-day step, but like you, I'm more independent as a Democrat when I vote and do what I need to do.
So what, and I understand that I'm not a Democrat, I'm nonpartisan. And so I understand that as far as our people being just Democrat, I don't care what it is, vote blue no matter who. So how do you incorporate waking people up with campaigning? Because that's got to be a part of it, I would imagine.
Yeah, and that's the hard part. Like and that's why I'm careful when I tell them that I'm running against Warnock. Again, Demetra, I have to wait to see what kind of reaction I'm about to get from this person before I even can say, okay, can I take you here and we can have this conversation? Or do I have to like kind of talk you through, what this is? And so I'm very careful, Demetra, very right now.
No, I understand it. I mean, it's very hard. It's very hard to pull our people from the Democratic state of mind, and that, we say they're for the people and they're the party of Black people. I've heard that a lot, but it's like if they're for the people, then we would be better off. So it's kind of hard to get people to connect the dots. But I also want to just ask you this. I know this is like your 4th time running for Senate?
This is my 5th run for office. This is my 2nd run for the U.S. Senate. Okay,
so your 2nd run for the U.S. Senate. Now, I have a 2-part question. Do you get people asking you or saying, oh, you're a vote splitter? Let's say, God forbid, Herschel Walker wins. And then they say, well, if you weren't in the race, because last time you came, within striking distance, I would say you got what was about 2% over 100,000 votes. So that's enough votes to really sway an election, especially as close as it was with Ralph Warnock and forgive me, I forget the other guy.
Leffler.
Yes. I mean, the woman, I'm sorry, the other person. So that's enough to make a difference. So how do you feel about people maybe accusing you of being a vote splitter?
So let's dissect that. That's such a great question, Demetra. Let's first, I had a man send me an email just yesterday about, oh, you splitting the vote. I said, sir, this race is between me and Warnock. How am I splitting the votes? It's just the 2 of us in this Democratic primary. I'm not splitting the votes. Then we get on the other side of it. Here's the Herschel Walker. If he becomes the Republican nominee, right? Stacey Abrams is driving the Black vote. Is she what? So come on. So let's splitting it from who? Who we splitting the vote from? It's like that argument doesn't even make sense.
But let me throw a jump in there really quick. So at this point in time, is Stacey Abrams actually driving the Black vote, in that she's also running for governor again, and she's polling, pretty much last in comparison to everybody else that's running? I think she's 3rd to that. Brian Kemp, I guess, is leading, and then is it David?
Yeah, he's the incumbent. Brian Kemp's the incumbent. And
David is
David Perdue.
David Perdue.
Yeah.
I'm still learning. Yeah. So she's actually not doing as well as I guess people would imagine she would be, especially since she came really close last time. And she's got the, the voters initiative out there and she's getting people to vote. So is she really at this point driving the black vote?
She's driving the black vote, Demetra. Trust me. They didn't, them polls, I told y'all, please don't believe the hype. She driving them black votes because she's been going around the state and she's making sure that she's still, she still has her hands on the on the wheels here in Georgia. So yeah, she is. And a lot of people are betting on that as far as making sure that black people come to the polls. I think she will get the turnout, but can she win is another story. Now she will get the turnout for the black vote, but can she win? Because there's a lot of us who are looking like we're going to do something different on the other side of this, but that's another conversation.
Let me ask you this real quick for Donovan gets it. So, are you getting lumped in? Because right now, I think we can all admit that there is a referendum on the Democratic Party, in that, especially tied to Joe Biden. Joe Biden, he sat up there said, y'all being black people stood by me. I'm gonna stand by y'all. And so there's a lot of pushback from black people against the Democratic Party. Like, hey, we've seen y'all do stuff for everybody else but black people. Now they'll say, yeah, we did this, but we're talking about specifics. So we haven't seen that. So are you getting a little blowback from that and being lumped in with the Democrats? Like, you know what? I voted for the Democrats last time, but now I'm thinking about maybe Herschel Walker or somebody else because Democrats just have not delivered for black people.
Well, I'm gonna be voting for myself on the other side of this. Demetra, I won't be voting for Herschel. Herschel is a joke. Look, I just want Herschel to, first of all, he don't need, just reparations alone. He testified against HR 40, went to Congress and testified against his own people. Who does that? That's just, I'm just gonna stay there with him. I don't have to fight him on nothing else. He's already defeated in other areas. I'm just gonna fight him on the fact that, bro, you don't even fight for your own people. So I'm gonna stay there with Herschel Walker. But yeah, we see it, the inflation, the gas prices, immigration. We see it. We see all the problems here. But there's a base here in Georgia that is older and they're gonna vote blue no matter who. They're gonna go to the polls. So I think what we're gonna see in this 2022 election is a different demographic that's been that I think now is emerging. I won't say we're waking up. I just think we're emerging. I think there's some younger voters, and there's those of us who the light bulb has come on, and we're like, wait a minute, this administration and this voting blue, no matter who, ain't working for none of us. So I think there's going to be a shift, and I think it's unprecedented. We hadn't seen this before. And that's why I get excited about this race, because it is Georgia is different will be different in 2022.
Yeah. A real quick question that I have. I noticed that, you're running as a Democrat, but the chairman of the Democratic Party, what's his name? Happy, whatever that guy, that black guy is. I forgot his name. He lost his election. Demetra, what was his name?
His name is Jamie.
Yeah.
Over in South, he ran in South Carolina.
Jamie Harrison. Yeah. He had this big old war chest. Lost against incumbent Lindsey Graham that had no money, and he just got blown out. Right now, when I ran, I found out that it wasn't my opponent really that was the issue. It was the Democratic Party itself, because I wasn't chosen. Are you having kind of a lot of pushback, or are you getting any support from the Democratic Party? Because like I said, a lot of us have been lifelong Democrats, right? So you would think, oh, they'll be fair. They'll give me some support. They'll give this guy some support because democracy is so great. So when I ran for office, I noticed that the biggest pushback I had, and more money was spent against me by, at the time, my own party, because I was not chosen by them.
Oh gosh. Oh, Donovan. Yeah, the Democratic the establishment here, the Democratic Party of Georgia. Look, they outwardly support Warnock in their emails. Like they're not just doing it behind, they send out correspondence on a regular, outwardly supporting him. County parties here in Georgia outwardly supporting him, hosting events. He's the guest speaker. I have been kicked. I mean, Zooms. I get on they won't even let me in the county Zoom. I don't even can't. And I know I'm like, y'all see, I can't even get on the Zooms. Y'all won't even let me.
Keisha Lance Bottom is the vice chair of the Democratic Party right now. So you mean to tell me sisterhood ain't helping?
Is she the vice chair?
Yes, she is now the vice chair of the Democratic Party. They gave her position when they got her up out of Atlanta.
Okay, I gotta go look that up. Look, you
that
told
up.
me something I don't know.
Yes, Keisha Lance Bottom, sisterhood.
No. They're supporting Warnock and go back to the money. You know, for every dollar I raise, he raises $10,000. For every $1, he's raising $10,000. But you know what? I just know that this is again a different kind of race, and there's a different demographic that they can't see it yet. They can't see it. We're here and we're not showing up. We're not voting blue, no matter who. And you're going to have to give us tangibles in exchange for that vote. So there's something uniquely and differently that's happening, and they don't see it yet. They can't. Right. They can't put their finger on it yet.
Right now, is your campaign targeting specifically millennials and Generation Xers that are awake versus the base?
Oh yeah, I try, Donovan. I try to talk to these older people. I do.
Yeah, it's
like I get to a place. One man told me I need to go talk to the Eastern Stars. I'm like, are they still around? I'm like, oh Lord,
oh my goodness.
Are they gonna even listen? The ones that's left, will they even listen to me?
Right.
No, so it's a different demographic that's emerging, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and also real quick, you're also seeing like in Joe Biden, you're seeing these people that have been in politics for years. And like here we have a Senator Dianne Feinstein. She's totally out of it. And the Democratic Party is still prepping these people up when they should be preparing younger people to come in to do the work. And real quick, I just want your opinion on this. A young man was executed up in, I believe, Detroit. Do you see? I don't know if you saw the video because you probably haven't seen it in video. He's an African guy that came in over a traffic stop. I've noticed. I don't know if anybody else has noticed. Dimitri, I don't know if you've noticed. The CBC hasn't made a statement. Nobody has talked, supposedly representing Black people in these places and spaces. So, I mean, when you get to office, are you going to be that like unapologetic representative that we're lacking? I mean, these people are silent when things happen to Black people on a national level. You don't hear a statement, anything.
Well, Donovan, I can tell you when I ran in 2014, 16, and 18 for the Georgia State Senate, I talked very boldly about racism, and race relation. When I ran in 2020, and now in 2022, I took it up a notch. I'm talking very boldly about reparations. And Donovan, I talk Black to Black people, and I talk back to white people. So I'm going to be who I am, authentically who I am. So yeah, this is it. I'm not the only candidate. We have Marcel Dixon over in South Carolina. We got William Somerville out there in California, where you are. And we're here, and we're not quiet, and we're not going to go along to get along. And this Democratic Party is either going to get it right, or we're going to take a whole lot of folks with us when we leave.
So let me ask. Okay, so let's pretend that everybody in Georgia is tuned in to the Demetra K show, which would be nice. And you have an opportunity to tell them why they should vote for you. What would be your top 3 reasons as to why Georgians should vote for you?
Reparations, and reparations. In Georgia, that's it. It's that's it.
Okay, so
in Georgia has to realize that I have a kid that's coming in the door.
Oh, don't worry, we understand.
And Georgia has to realize that we're going to be the catalyst to what happens in the rest of America. Like, we're going to be, with my candidacy, running on reparations. We're going to be the ones that have a voice for all of Black America.
So let me ask you this about reparations, because we've heard a copious amount of our Black politicians go and say, we're going to get reparations. Maxine, I'm from California. So we've heard Maxine Waters say, when I go to, Congress, I'm taking up reparations. And, and then you have Sheila Jackson Lee, and then John Conyers, of course, he started HR 40. And then the rest of them, Karen Bass and all of them kind of said, well, we're going to take up the mantle, but it's only now a study. And so what is the assurance to, Georgia, since you're going to be representing Georgia and then ultimately everybody when you go to Congress? What is their assurance that you're going to go to Congress and actually not just do a study, but actively try to get reparations for African American descendants of slaves?
Yeah, I already have a plan. It is to create the reparations administration. The same way we have the Social Security Administration, the same way we have the Veterans Administration. We have to have a federal agency that will house our redress. So my goal is to create the reparations administration. We need that same kind of infrastructure that will be specific to us. We have to be defined in the law. Who are we, those of us who are descendants of chattel slavery? Define us in the law and create out the infrastructure to make sure that we have the resources that we need. And that's just not, I do talk about cutting the check because that is part of it. That is the biggest part. You're going to cut the check. But there's also other resources that that we need as a people. This is generational work. That's why we will have to have a federal agency to do this. There'll have to be some sort of registry that says who we are. These are descendants of chattel slavery. We were not we're not a lost people. We were property in this country. So we're not a lost people. We just have to be, again, we got to have the infrastructure to repair the damage that's been done to us that continues. This generational trauma still lives inside of all of us, still lives inside of me. So this is, again, generational work. And that is I have a specific plan. I'm not going to create a study. I'm not going to get some programs. I'm going to create the infrastructure to house our redress. So a very different approach, a very specific strategic approach.
Okay, I like that. So, and then California, I'm sure you've heard that they are also trying to get reparations for American descendants of slaves. And so there's also this other pushback from people like, well, we don't think it's fair that you're making the line of demarcation between ADOS, if you will, and other people, let's say from Africa or Jamaica that live here. They're basically saying, why should they be excluded? They think it's very divisive. So what do you say about that? Because that conversation comes up in the national conversation as well.
Well, this is a specific justice claim. It has to be lineage based. The courts, you can't go into the courts and, say black, or when you make it race based, it will be struck down. This is why we can't get anything done now. We have to be very specific about who these people are. And America doesn't owe all black people. Some people migrated here. America don't owe all black people. America only owes those of us who are descendants of chattel slavery. Those of us who can trace our lineage either on our maternal side or our paternal side back to slavery in this country. We have a specific justice claim with America. And the beauty of this, for those who aren't, America is not your homeland. Guess what? This sets the precedent for what you can do in your country. This is where we take this thing and make it global. Like we go and get everybody straight, right? So yeah, this is, yeah.
The Republicans in Georgia just had a debate center, and of course Herschel Walker is doing a Joe Biden, which was a masterful campaign, a bunker campaign where you're not seen and you're not heard, but you get elected because of your name recognition and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. In the Democratic Party, are you and Ralph Warnock going to be debating anytime soon? Coming down the wire, is he refusing to debate, or where can we see you two go, or is his hubris so much that, oh, I make too much money for me to have to debate you?
Oh, I'm nobody. I'm nothing and nobody. They say our race is not competitive. So they've quantified us. Well, because I don't have the millions, I don't have the money that he had. I don't have any money, I don't. Literally. We're grassroots campaign. And so they don't see that this is a competitive race. He doesn't have to even mention me. He doesn't have to debate me. He doesn't have to show up. And he won't. And the party is shielding him from that. So I don't anticipate he and I being anywhere together at all.
Wow. So let me ask you this, because this is your opponent in the primary, and you are, believe it or not, giving him, you're sticking it to him because you're on the grassroots platforms. I've seen people talk about you, bring you up, and if I was Ralph Warnock, I wouldn't take anything for granted, regardless of how much money you have, because to get elected, it isn't how much money you have; it's how many votes you can get. So,
and I think he's depending on people not knowing who I am. I think that's the strategy, is because people don't know who I am and they know him. So you let him ride on that. Well, they don't have to know me, but they're going to know reparations precedes me.
Absolutely.
And that has been my advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that when you ran last time, and everybody that's listening, you guys got to remember, when a special election actually happens, it's a special election. And when you run in a special election, because I ran in a special election, you're almost obligated to run again in the next election if you don't make it, because now you have more name recognition and it's a full term type thing or whatever. So a lot of people don't understand. They think, oh, well, she beat him. He was only there a year. He's only been there a year. So this is the full election now. So, and it's very important. It's, whoever wins this is the next 6 years. But in that last election, he made a lot of promises, and the Democratic Party made a lot of promises that did not come true. And as a pastor that sits at Ebenezer Baptist Church, highly esteemed in the Black community, why aren't people holding him accountable? Well, we know some people are, but we're talking about like the older generation, people that are not holding him accountable, because this man is showing, if you're a pastor, if you can't keep that promise, what makes us think you're going to keep promises moving forward?
They don't want to shame the pastor. You got to understand this is the South, right? This Southern hospitality, there's this, we don't, we're nice. We're nice here in the South. So they don't want to shame the pastor. Don't shame the pastor. And this is why it just makes me mad with him, because it's like, that people don't want to see you fall because it's a reflection on the church. Like, that. So knowing that, do the right thing. I should not even be running against you. He should be blacker than me. He should be blacker than me. His platform should be, speaking to the last words of Dr. King. We're coming to get our check. He had an economic agenda. He knew Warnock is there. Literally, I've been pulled aside. They've given him a nickname in Congress. They call him a backbench. And I'm like, what is a backbench? I had never heard that before. And they said it's somebody who does what they're told to do. And I'm like, so he's just there signing his name and just running around being whatever they need him to be. What about the people that sent you there? And specifically, what about Black people? When you got homeless people living outside your church, how you preach every Sunday and those homeless people sleep across the street from your church? How do you preach and how do you sleep? I can't even drive through the city without seeing you. I mean, they're everywhere. People and Black. These are Black people. I put on Twitter just the other day, and this will be my last response. I put on Twitter the other day. There was a man. Somebody sent me a picture of a man sleeping in a trash can in the city of Atlanta. So this is our reality. This is our reality in the city of Atlanta. So he can't ignore it. If nothing else, if he had come out of the gate speaking to homelessness, I could have some respect for his candidacy and his time in the Senate. But he hasn't even spoke to that. This is a public health crisis. When you got people living in trash cans, you got people living in tents across the street from your church. Where do they go to the bathroom? How do they eat? Pastor.
Well, okay now. So anyway, that is our time, and you guys will be, I guess, going to the primaries on May 24th, if I'm not mistaken. And so, we wish you luck in unseating him, because it sounds like he needs to be unseated and send somebody in there who is not going to be a rubber stamp. So we will be following that to see what happens. And before or after, we would love to have you back.
Just
to
come back.
Opinions on everything. And so in closing, what would you like to say?
That we have a race to win Georgia. Anybody here in the great state of Georgia, please spread the word about this candidacy. We have to send somebody to Washington that has a heart for us. So please, y'all, spread the word about this campaign.
All right, Miss Shealey. So we will talk to you next time. And I know you have a busy day, so we'll go ahead and let you go on. And Donovan and I will continue on.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Like, the woman is dynamic. I'm sorry. I do not see how the people of Georgia see the contrast, how they cannot see, hey, look, we're moving forward. We're in the 21st century. This guy, even though Ralph Warnock's about my age, not saying he's too old, but what I'm saying is he's out of touch. He's out of touch. And, it's just crazy. Are we in a Pizarro world now?
Well, I don't even know if he's out of touch per se. I mean, obviously we had only 30 minutes to really continue on, or to finish the interview with her. We'll have her back at another time. But I just ask: is he out of touch, or does he go up there and does he buy in and become a rubber stamp? Because that's why I asked her too. A lot of people say they're going to do that. And I'm not saying it's about her, But a lot of people say, well, I'm going to go to Washington and do this for Black people. I'm going to get that for Black people. And then when they get up there, they just completely buy in and say, Black people? What Black people? And so the question is, is he out of touch, or just does he say, oh, I didn't know, or I was told all this was going to go on. They were going to offer me all these things, but I just really didn't have any idea. So I'm going to come and put up a statue and with something here. So are they out of touch, or do they just buy in?
Well, I think they pretty much buy in, because it makes no sense. It's one thing to get up there and you have expectations when you don't get there, and then you finally get there and you say, oh my God, this is what's real. But why aren't they saying that then? People love the truth.
Why? Who's saying that?
These elected officials, once you get there, like if I was new and they sent me to Congress and I say, oh, wow, hey, you guys, this ain't how it works. This is how it works.
Well, how do you turn down money, though, and lots of it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it depends on who you are. I mean, like I said, this man's supposed to be a pastor. He rides on the pastor coat's tail. So my thing with him is, if you're going to do the Creflo Dollar thing, you can't be a pastor in one instance and then, oh, you're just a regular person in another. Which is it?
Well, I mean, if you really ask yourself this, what's the difference between a pastor and a politician?
Not much.
There you go.
Pastor, pimp, politician, they're all the same. They just do it in a different way.
Yeah, so he's actually operating within the realm of, the politician pastor dynamics, because pastors, not all, I don't want to say, there's some pastors out there who are doing the Lord's work per se. Mm-hmm. But, the premise of a lot of these pastors, they get up in front of a lot of people, which politicians do too, and they say all these things. If you just sow a seed of faith, you'll get this coming back to you. And, in the sky, by and by, there's going to be lots of pie if you do what I tell you to do down here, and just trust in me, the Lord, and all of that. And so the politicians do the same thing. If you send me to Washington, then I'm going to make sure you live a better life in the district. So that's what I'm saying. So is he really operating outside of the realm of what he was doing before he got to Washington?
Good point. Good point. But we need a change. And we need to change seriously. Now, here you are, a pastor. You sit on Martin Luther King's former church. Now, Demetra, how many times years ago that I would say there are plenty of Black people in positions of power to enact change? We have them there. You have over 73 Black congressional representatives in Congress. There's 13 votes that separate the control of the Congress, or the House. 13 votes. There's 56, 62, something like that, members of the CBC. So who controls the agenda in Congress? With those numbers, it should be the CBC. Nancy, if you want this thing passed, you want the infrastructure bill passed, this is what we're going to need. What did one man, Joe Manchin, just do? And Kirsten Sinema, they stopped the whole agenda. We got 50-something members of the CBC, mostly women, that are doing absolutely nothing. They're, like you said, backbenchers. They're going along to get along.
Well, the other thing, too, is it's not really up to Congress to get things done or to make sure things get done. That's up to us as the voters to make sure to get things done. Like she said, Ralph Warnock is going to rest on pretty in that he's a pastor, and people feel like, especially our community, one thing you're not going to do as far as our people is talk bad about no pastor or, that politician that's been in office for 500 years. Oh, no, I know Miss Maxine Waters. She going to be cramming her time, and you don't talk bad. All right, we're not talking bad about Maxine, but we're saying, look, Maxine has been here since 1992, give or take, and she hasn't done anything for the district that really should have us say, wow, I'm going to miss her when she retires. And so I say that it's not really on the people in Congress, it's on the people that put them in Congress, because if we know that we're sending politicians, whether he's a reverend or not, to Washington, and they continuously show us that they're not going to do anything specifically for us, whose fault is it really? Now, I know big money, on the machines and the war chest that they have, as some of these politicians like Ralph Warnock, I know he's got a big war chest, so it's hard to beat big money. Let's keep it real. But that big money.
How did he amass that war chest in a year? How did he do that?
Well, because he's got a lot of people who want him there. If he's called a backbench, a rubber stamp, there's value in them funneling money into his campaign to keep him there, opposed to getting a Tamara in there. She's going to say, okay, the buck literally stops here with me. But I say all that to say is, like what she said, the people won't go against Ralph because he's a reverend, sat in Martin Luther King's church. And so it's some symbolism, some symbolic things attached to that. So until the people get rid of people like him and everybody else that sits in Washington and do nothing, then they're going to continue sitting in Washington and do nothing. And so it's on the people, the voters, to do that.
Right. Well, let me ask you this question. Do you think this primary election, or not the primary, I'm talking about the midterms, is really going to be a referendum on the Democratic Party?
I believe so. We're already seeing it in so many places. Like I said, I know, Miss Shealey says that don't believe the hype, and I agree. I understand statistics a little bit, especially when it comes to polling. I know the data's here and there. Like she said, she wasn't polled. The poll that I saw was actually that of Emerson College polling, and it's tied to, I forget which exactly corporation is tied to the polling thing. But anyway, it does say that, and I've seen other polls that says that Herschel is leading Ralph Warnock. But let's say those polls are skewed, which a lot of them are. Why is he that close? In that if it's Ralph Warnock and Herschel Walker sitting there neck and neck on midterms, why is Herschel Walker even an idea, even a notion that he could be the senator upsetting that of Ralph Warnock? Why is that? So you asked me about a referendum on the Democratic Party. They just switched over to blue there in Georgia with all the, we need to change. And Stacey Abrams and her voting, I forget what it's called, her organization, where they helped, let's be honest, help switch Georgia to blue, but she's struggling as well. And so it's like, you're not going to tell me that's not a referendum on the Democratic Party when you got to, and excuse my French, a dumbass like Herschel Walker, that is an option. He's not showing up. Now, we know Republicans are putting a lot of money and stuff behind them. That also tells you something, too, that Republicans want a Republican in there so bad, and they know how Black people are, that they would even put somebody like Herschel Walker in there because they know that Black people are upset with the Democrats. And so, hell yeah, that's going to be a referendum on
well, who's that guy down in Alabama? Bobby Bowden, the football coach? That guy's dumb as rocks, and he's in the Senate. So, it's not beyond pale that they would do certain like this. As long as it's a Republican, this person's going to, do and vote the way they want them to vote. You don't have to know much. Just do what we tell you to do. Tamara talked about a backbencher. For those of you guys that don't know politics, Tony Blair of England was a backbencher. He was somebody who got along, and then they selected him. Do you also know who was a backbencher, Demetra, that rose to prominence?
That could be anybody.
Obama.
I knew you were going to say that, but I was like, it could be anybody.
A first-term senator, Black, and then all of a sudden, he rises out of nowhere because everybody keeps forgetting what was going on when Obama rose to prominence.
Well, he had to occupy Wall Street.
Occupy the Wall Street thing, and people were occupying all the cities, and people were just had enough, and they said, "Oh, let's get this Black guy here. We'll put him up because nobody's seen anything like that before." And what happened when he won the Democratic nomination? All of that shit stopped.
Yeah,
Oh,
and that was a falsehood as well. Actually was working at a bank as a personal banker when
yeah,
that took place, and we know that was drummed up as propaganda to get people on board with, oh, it's a referendum on Wall Street. We're sick of
right.
these tycoons, and people were supposed to come in and withdraw their money out the bank.
Yeah,
We had
false
one person
flag.
come in the bank and withdraw, I don't know, probably $100 out of his bank account. He had the Occupy Wall Street shirt on, and he's coming in and making a statement. They had everybody come in that day. It was a Saturday, just in case the bank was going to be inundated with people snatching money out. And we know that it got more media attention than it actually happened. But to your point, so when it got everybody all upset, when I say everybody, I talk about the proletariat, the working class people, normally Democrats. Oh, they're the Wall Street is sticking it to you, so we need to stick it back to them. They did that, like you said, to get everybody on board and usher in Obama so he could say, well, Wall Street and this, that, and the other. And he ends up being a Wall Street candidate as that of Joe Biden, who was his vice president. So
right. And nobody from Wall Street was held accountable of significance that crashed the economy, stole people's 401ks. A third of the black wealth was taken. That was all under Obama, and people don't remember that. But the funny thing in Georgia, like I said, and I remember when I first ran across Miss Shealey, I mean, I was just so impressed. Like, look at this energy, and she's talking the real, and because I'm all about just tell it to me straight. I don't want to sugarcoat this stuff. Just tell it to me straight. And I heard her telling it to me straight. But like she said, she's in the Bible Belt, and nobody wants to offend the pastor and do all those things. But are these people realizing in Georgia, if you don't make the right decision right now, today, Georgia is going to go under.
But opposed to what, though? What does that really mean in the larger scheme for Black people? Because, and I like Tamara Johnson-Shealey. I want to come back to I like her. We've interviewed her before. And so I like her platform and, all of that. But I think we should say, too, because we hear a lot of candidates say, and that's why I asked her that in all fairness, so I'm not asking it now.
Yeah.
We hear a lot of candidates say that, oh, I'm going to go to Washington and I'm going to do this for Black people, and they just don't. And so that's why I asked what the insurance policy is. But what if Georgia goes under? What does that mean for Black people that Georgia will go under?
Well, okay, now us being from California, we look at stuff, and one thing about California is, we're in a very racist state here, by the way, but they show Georgia as this, at least Atlanta proper, as this great Black Mecca and all this other stuff. But what they don't tell you about that is Black folks don't own nothing in Georgia. Those big skylines and those stadiums and stuff. What's going on in Georgia is the same exact thing that's going on right here in California. And when she made the thing about the homeless folks, just like here, a lot of the homeless here in California that you're seeing in LA County, where do you think those people came from? They came from the very district Maxine Waters represents, and they built that stadium. These are just hardcore facts. People don't want to believe it. So what I'm saying is, as these things are happening in the world, we lost a third of our wealth here. People lost their jobs because of the pandemic, because of the Democrat mandates. All these things that are affecting, we were already behind to begin with. It's almost like they're going to take the rest of the wealth and the houses, people that still own those houses. And it's like, they're going to try to get them any way they can get them, because we are actually, from what I'm seeing, it's like we're losing. Our wealth is just going. I'm seeing more and more people without.
Well, and this is my thing too, and that's why I asked the question of what does it mean in larger scheme of it going under in regards to Black people? I mean, I don't think there's any more of an under for Black people, and I think we should be careful when I say we. I mean, all of us, especially if we're talking about politics, and that let's try to. And I think that Tamara is the best choice. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah,
but I think when we say, oh, it's gonna if she's not put in, then Georgia's gonna go under. It's almost kind of like the scare tactics. And I just kind of feel like, I don't live in Georgia, so it's probably hard for me to speak for them. But Herschel Walker being in office, I think really would be the wake-up call that especially Black people need, is because we knew that when Joe Biden got back in office and the Democrats are, back controlling Congress, if you will, we knew that it would rock Black people back to sleep. It would be NyQuil for Negroes, and that We think, oh, everything's okay now. Woo, I can breathe a sigh of relief that Trump is out of there. And we've seen things got worse for Black people. And so when we say, oh, well, the things are going to go under, I'm just one of those people who think that going under, if that's even more of a thing, is probably what needs to happen. So Black people can really see that, well, for one, neither party has your best interest at heart. Stop going to the polls and making these emotional decisions in there, talking about my grandmama, my granddaddy, and all, and would be proud I went in there and I voted for a Democrat, but I didn't get anything for it other than to say I did it. And so I think that we need to see what a Herschel Walker or another Trump presidency or somebody like that really looks like for Black people, and stop putting your hopes in the Democrats and that they are going to save you and make life better, because they're not, never have, never will.
Yeah, I mean, these Democrats are outright telling you we don't give a damn. F you. I mean, they're just outright doing this. But what I'm saying is, Black people, the little wealth that we had is slowly but surely being taken away. They don't want to give us reparations. Billions of dollars are going to the Ukraine and other groups, and it just doesn't make sense to me how we can have all of this representation at the national level, the state level, the local level, and yet nothing is being done on our behalf. But let's segue real quick. I don't know if you saw that video of that African guy being executed by the police officer for a traffic stop. Did you get a chance to see that?
I've seen a little bit of it, but I unfortunately have not delved into it because I've been busy. But also I try to stay away from a lot of things that are traumatic. I heard that it was very traumatic and
very graphic. But let me just ask you this question, just in general. A traffic stop. This man was stopped for a license plate that was on the wrong side of the car. Now, of course, a lot of my white friends said, we didn't see the whole video, and that's why you should comply. I got a question for you, Demetra. Why should I comply if I know I didn't do anything wrong?
Well, from what I understand, like I said, I haven't got into the deep particulars of it, but he was stopped for a license plate or something like that. Something minor
on the car. But no, but my question to you, forget all that. My question to you is, if you know you are in the right, why should you comply?
Well, I was prefacing it with that.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That, that it was a traffic stop.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you should comply in whatever the traffic stop violation is, whatever the saying is, you should comply. And Donovan, how I feel about this, I feel like, sure, we got all these rights. We're supposed to, as Black people in America, but we know that it doesn't pan out for us as Black people in America. So I'm not one of those people to tell Black people that is having an issue with a police officer, whether they're stopped or whatever, to say, I don't have to tell you nothing. I'm not one of those people. I know what the Constitution says, but I also know that police officers act as judge, jury, and executioner. All in a moment's, notice. Yeah. So I tell people, comply so you don't die, right? Because in his situation, it was a simple traffic stop that should not have resulted in him getting the back of his brain, head blown off, right? Yeah, so you got these rights, but the police officers, especially the ones they got out there on these streets, they don't give a damn about your rights. What they will give a damn about is subjugating you, and that you, boy, not that I'm being disrespectful, you ain't gonna tell me what to do. You don't get to tell me how to write the citation. You do what I say. And so we got to be very careful when we tell our people, tell them you ain't got to do this. You ain't got to listen to them.
Correct. No. And that's what I wanted you to kind of to get out there, because you speak it a little bit better than I would. But what I'm saying in regards to that situation, and when we were talking to Tamara, notice that no Black national politician has said a word. And my thing is, why are they so silent when these things are happening? Again, we didn't see the whole video. That doesn't matter. Do you honestly believe it is okay to execute somebody? I mean, okay, here's the way I looked at it. I don't know, maybe I'm just on a different wavelength. You have the car, you have the passenger. Okay, the plate didn't match up to the car. Fine. The VIN number is on the car. So you're eventually going to catch up to the person who owns the car and do your investigation. Why is it that these things keep happening to Black men? I just don't get it. And Black women. I just don't get it.
Well, it keeps happening to Black men and Black women because we are not seen as humans.
Yeah.
Cops, and I don't want to even get into the good cop, bad cop argument because I don't feel like there's a good cop when there's so many bad cops running around doing bad things, right? But they don't see Black people as people. They never have, and they are bloodthirsty. They know that they are under the rules of qualified immunity and that I can kill somebody and get away with it and go home and eat my dinner like nothing has ever happened. So first, they got to see us as humans. That's why Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us, first, you got to be considered a human. You got to get human rights. There's no such thing as civil rights until they see you as a human. And that's where we don't connect the dots. Like, yeah, I want to have the rights to do this. Hell, you don't even have the right to be a human in the United States of America. So how are you getting civil rights, right? It's a false idea of civil rights. And so when we understand that as Black people, that cops don't see us as people, then we understand why they can kill you in cold blood over a traffic stop. Now that comes back to us as Black people when we start doing for self and stuff like, I don't give a damn. I want to say a stronger word, but I'm a daddy watching. But I don't give a damn what those politicians in Washington are saying about that case. I don't care because what are we saying about that case? Why are we waiting for them? They'll never probably ever have an issue with an officer where they're pulled over and murdered, right? Even our Black politicians. But it's on us to care and make sure that they go there and move the ball. And so I say, yeah, I know those politicians get to Washington and they say they're going to do this, that, and the other, but it's up to us to hold them accountable. The other thing is Black people, let's unify, pool our resources together so we're stop depending upon the system, the injustice system to render us justice. That is not what it's here for. They didn't bring us over here to render us justice. And nothing has changed in 2022. And so we'll always ask, why are they doing this to us until Black people in America, we get our stuff together. And then, as Dr. Claude Anderson said, when we start operating on the 5 floors, education, business, policing, politics, the media, all that, when we get those things well-oiled and operating, then we'll have more say-so as to when a police officer murders our people, then we can go and say, hey, like Asians do, like white people do, Mexicans do. When their people are murdered, they don't sit around and say, well, what are you going to do for us, Maxine? They say, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to shut this mother down until we get justice. And they get justice.
Correct. Now, Jim Clyburn was like, we don't need qualified immunity. Not right now. We got to we don't stop sloganizing. We don't need all that. Now, I just, after seeing what took place with this young man, I said, what if right now qualified immunity and we had gotten it like we were supposed to, or the George Floyd bill, would that young man be alive? Because would that officer who made $90,000, they identified him, somebody on Facebook or, the local people identified this man, his salary is about $90,000. Would he have done what he done knowing that he could be prosecuted and, to be so quick to the gun? And then Cheryl Dorsey, who's a retired LAPD officer out here, sergeant, she even said, in a situation like that, when you're in hand-to-hand combat and in close combat, one of the thing that is never taught supposedly at the academy is to pull your gun, because that's exactly what could happen, a misfire or something. So why this, I'm not speculating. I'm just repeating what Sergeant Dorsey was saying. And it doesn't make sense to me as a military person. If I'm in hand-to-hand combat, now is not the time to reach for my gun and try to shoot somebody. I've got to deal with it with my hands. And so it just doesn't, like you said, it doesn't make sense what happened. But like you said, we were executed on the spot. And again, for those that might not know, go do your research on this. Mysteriously, during the tussle, the video stopped. And then when they were trying to resuscitate a dead man, it came back on.
Yeah, well, I mean, they are trained to de-escalate situations. So how does a traffic stop over a license plate get escalated to the point of somebody being murdered? Let's call it what it is. It's a murder. And the question is simply because you're a Black man in America, you don't have any rights, and they know that. And will qualified immunity, which means, for those of you guys don't know what qualified immunity means, is that police officers are protected and that they will not be gone after personally. So say like if you kill somebody in their family, can come after you on a civil level personally, but they're protected by that. And normally the city pays out a big giant settlement to the family while the officer gets to go back to work. And so will it help? Yeah, I think so to some degree, but how do you legislate not being racist?
Right.
That is very hard to do when the very fabric of this country is rooted in racism. The lawmakers are racist. You don't think they're racist? Then why don't they get rid of qualified immunity? If they're not racist, they could do that. When I say they, that's Congress, that's the House, the Senate, and Joe Biden. You know, they could do that, but and
by the way, does the Democrats own the whole House?
Well, yeah,
the whole government?
That's what I'm saying. So all that is ran by the Democrats, and so if they really wanted to get rid of those things, they could. But why don't they? In fact, we are seeing more and more Democrats. I did a story about that on the African Diaspora News Channel. It's not up yet, but we're seeing more and more Democrats all over the country from all offices saying, let's throw more money at the police. They want to refund the police opposed to defund the police. And they're doing that because they took a poll, whether you believe it or not, says 73% of voters that were polled says that they would not be interested in backing a candidate who wants to defund the police. And so now you're seeing all these Democrats saying, well, let's give more money to the police. Oh, we need more police officers. Oh, well, we know Black people will want, police officers. Like, yeah, we want police officers, but we want the same quality of policing that they get in Beverly Hills and all these other places where rich white people live. And we want that type of policing. So
yeah, all we get is the gang sheriffs.
Yeah,
the sheriffs that are in gangs.
Right. They bring in the cops who are bloodthirsty. And so will qualified immunity get rid of that? No, I don't think so, because they know that even if qualified immunity, getting rid of it comes into play, they still got to go to trial. And more than likely, it's going to be somebody who sympathizes with police officers, give them a slap on the wrist or let them go. And so they're absolved unless the people want to sue them civilly. Then that's who says to say that's going to work.
Right. And then that takes money and that can be dragged out for years. But remember a few years ago, I said what was happening with all these executions of Black people was police officers are going to start going to bench trials. And a bench trial is what happened to that female police officer that executed that young man in the car. How many years did she get? What, 3 years?
You're talking about Kimberly Porter? She got 2 years. 2.
Yeah, she got 2 years because the judge felt, well, I just think, and then she made the ruling. She overruled what the jury said and said, I'm going to give them this.
Yeah, she's pro-police, which a lot of judges are pro-police. So that's what I said. We need to be careful of the language that is being used to throw us off balance and say, oh, we're going to get rid of qualified immunity. We'll break it on down and get rid of that. It still got, like you said, go to trial. Let's say that the jury's got to be, tuned in to say, okay, they're guilty. And a lot of times when they're found guilty, they're like that of Jason Van Dyke that killed Laquan McDonald in Chicago. He's already out. And he was supposed to do a 6, 7, 8 year bid. And I think he did maybe 3 at that.
Yeah.
So he's already out. And so, yeah, that sounds good, getting rid of qualified immunity. But at the long-term vision of all of that is, what does that really do? You still have Black people who are being murdered wholesale, and cops, for the most part, get off, right? So,
right, but wouldn't qualified immunity also relieve the taxpayer from paying these judgments? Because I think in the bill, when I skimmed the bill in its rawest form, it was supposed to hold the police unions to pay these things out.
Right. So, yeah, I guess in the long run, it would let the taxpayer off the hook. But how much does it cost to go to trial? Who pays for that?
Yeah, that's
we
true.
Do. So the taxpayer is still going to be on the hook for, I think that if they would start making these sentences longer and making the, how can I say this? The guidelines for sentencing police officers lower, because it's a high bar in a lot of cases to, well, how do we know he knew, that kind of stuff. So if they would lower the bar as far as what it takes to actually find a police officer guilty, and not just, second 25 degree, manslaughter where they get nothing. Nah, try them like you would do Ray and Pookie if they would have taken somebody's life, unjustly. Try them like that, and where they could be looking at the death penalty for killing somebody unarmed. And I think then we'll start to see some movement on that behalf.
Right. Well, like I said, this election is going to be a referendum to me on the Democratic Party. Tamara Johnson-Shealey will have information and a link in the comments below, whatever. You guys, please check her out. If you got relatives that are in Georgia, anywhere in that area, we need to send a message. We need to send a message, because I think that as they're seeing their numbers dropping in as far as wholehearted support of Democratic candidates, this might wake up the Democratic Party and say, you know what, we got to start throwing these guys a bone or doing something, because what we're doing is not working.
Absolutely, y'all. So anyway, that is our time. We love and appreciate y'all for tuning in. Hope that you enjoyed the interview with Tamara Johnson-Shealey. She is running for Senate there in Georgia against Ralph Warnock for the primaries. That'll take place on May 24th. And if she is successful, she will go on to battle that of, it looks like, maybe
in the general election.
Yep. Yeah, Herschel Walker. And so we're going to keep you guys posted about what's going to go on with that. So anyway, we'll be back tomorrow, Sunday, 5 p.m., which, I forgot it is Easter. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't celebrate Easter, Donovan.
I don't either. I'm a Catholic, but I don't.
Yeah. So we'll be here. What we'll talk about, I don't know, but 5 p.m. Central Time. If you guys enjoy the show, please donate to the show, Demetra K, or actually all the information is on the bottom. Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal. Yep. Until then, we will see y'all later.
Come on, I need my ski-wee sisters to help out. Where y'all at?
Peace.